All right, everybody, what is going on? It's Thursday. What is it? November 9th. Hope everybody's having a great day. So today we're going to cover vitamins and minerals. Usually in class, it's just a one-day lecture. But what I want to do before we get started is just to make sure everybody's on the same page as we move forward. So what I'm going to do real quickly is I'm going to share my screen. So I want to make sure, let me pull the chat up. So you should see this. This is the schedule, the tentative outline that you have in your syllabus. Can you see this? Verify for me that you can see this, because sometimes I'm sharing the wrong darn screen. All right, you can see it. So we know where we are. We just finished the water chapter, and we're somewhat on track here in that this week we were supposed to be studying vitamins and minerals. I had you submit your fluid calculations assignment on Tuesday night. I think I've got most of those graded. But vitamins and minerals usually in class is just a one-day lecture. And then after this, next week, we'll get into meal planning, and that's chapter 10. And this is really the last piece you'll need to finish your athlete profile, because we just did the fluid calculations last week. And so this week next week we'll do meal planning. And then we'll do meal planning, we'll do energy balance and body weight and composition, which I think is good for you, because most of you are probably more familiar with that. You've probably had this in a lot of different classes, exercise science, nutrition classes. So we'll talk about that related to athletes. And then we'll get into supplements, and we may spend 1 day or 2 days on supplements. So the last day of class, and I've got the 10th here, but really supplement, if you look at your class schedule, the last day of class is actually the 7th. So just know that. But what we've got left is, as far as assignments go, is you'll do a meal planning assignment, and then you'll do a target body weight calculations assignment when we get into that chapter. And so you got your final project. And I don't have it on here, and I should. And I probably, because this is not part of the chapters. Let me scroll up. If you're still following me, let me scroll up to the assignments part in the syllabus, because there's one assignment, and we do this because with our accreditation, they require us to do this. Let's see. Well, that's interesting. I don't have it in okay. So maybe we'll just skip it this semester. There was an assignment that I had them, we started having to do because of our accreditation. But you know what? I didn't put it in the syllabus. Is this the current syllabus that you see? So if that's the case, I'm not going to require it. I'm not going to require it. So I'm putting this on notice. You didn't see it because basically it was a one-page reflection. I have you read a research article. But since I've been doing it for most of the semesters, this shouldn't be a problem. I don't know how it didn't get in the syllabus this semester. This is why I need to look at this more often, right? Yeah, so it's not in there. So no worries. No worries. So you got your final project, which is your athlete profile. You've got your comprehensive final, which I'll give you, a range of days to take that test, and it will be a longer test. You have more time on it, but it will be over these last chapters. It'll be over the water, vitamins and minerals, meal planning, energy balance, supplements. That'll be half the test, and the other half of the test will be over the previous material, if that makes sense. And because I don't have it in the syllabus, I'm not going to require it. There was this other assignment that I think maybe I had done it a couple semesters, and somehow it didn't get up in the syllabus. So I'm not going to require it. And of course, you didn't know it was due anyway. So I just, interesting. I missed that. Anyway, that's what happens, right? Especially when you go all online. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. Let me see if I can find I'm going to stop sharing. So that's what the rest of the semester looks like. Let's go ahead. Any questions on the fluid calculations assignments? I think most of you did did those correctly. And I think if a couple of class periods ago, I actually went over this and showed you the steps in the process and all of that. The only thing that you might have, some of you maybe had a little bit of a challenge with is at the very end. I think instead of giving it to me in ounces, I think you gave it to me in milliliters, and that's okay. And everybody remembers that those conversions, like you know that 1 cup is 8 ounces, right? Which is also 240 milliliters. All right. Any questions on that before we move forward? So let's get into it today, and I'm going to share my screen. As a matter of fact, before I do that, let me get the slideshow up. I had to take it down to I had it up, but then I had to take it down to show my other screen. So let's do this. I'm going to share. Now, what you should be seeing now is the vitamins and minerals. So type in the chat just to let me know before we get going. Yep, you can see it. Good deal. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of the basics around this. But the truth is, and I said this, I think maybe in an announcement or two, that vitamins and minerals, we don't really talk too much about them because for athletes, the only time that, you know, an athlete would need have problems with vitamins and minerals is if they're deficient, because vitamins and minerals in themselves will not improve performance. However, if you're not getting in enough vitamins and minerals, then yes, that's going to be a problem. And so what does that relate to? That relates to calories, right? So let's go ahead and get into this then. And just in general, just as a quick refresher, when we talk about vitamins and minerals, remember we don't have the vitamins and minerals are micronutrients. They don't provide the body with energy. They don't have calories, but they're important for a lot of different processes. And we have 13 vitamins that are required. And anybody remember how we divide vitamins up? What's the classification for vitamins? Somebody? This is just simple nutrition 101 stuff. Type in the chat. Yeah, fat soluble and water soluble. Good. That's exactly right. And so with fat soluble, anybody remember what those are? Let's just challenge you a little further. What are the fat soluble vitamins? Give me one, or give me all of them if you know. Yeah, look at that. A, D, E, and K. Yes. And then with the water soluble, what do you have? What's water soluble? What are those vitamins? Yep. Okay. Vitamin C, and then all of those B vitamins. And there are a bunch of B vitamins, right? All right. So this is nothing new. And what you should also know around these water soluble vitamins is that requires water for absorption, and we don't retain any of these vitamins to really any degree. So they pass through the urine. The excess passes through the urine as waste. And that's why I always laugh, like some of these vitamins will show like 10,000% of your, thiamine. But the problem is, and people see that on the nutrition facts panel, and they're like, oh, if 100% is good, then 1,000% is better. And that's not necessarily the case. You're just paying for expensive urine. So you don't need those. And then with our fat soluble, they can be stored. And, again, with all of these vitamins and minerals, they're found in these nutrient dense foods. And so D, A, K, and E, and again, each one of them, again, that's not the goal of this class, even though you probably see this in your book. If you read, I mean, they'll get into the metabolism of all of these, but that's not going to be on the test. What's going to be on the test is around the exercise and its relationship to performance. Okay, the vitamins and minerals relationship to performance. But everybody good with this? This is just 101 stuff. And then with the minerals, it depends, basically the minerals make up our body. And like I said, I like this slide, this image, because we talk about calcium and that's related to bone. And we talk about iron, which is related to carrying oxygen right on hemoglobin. We talk about potassium, which is one of those electrolytes. And all of these really, calcium, potassium, magnesium are all electrolytes. We talked about in our last chapter. We talk about magnesium related to bone, and then also related to cramping, and potassium and sodium related to cramping as well. Right. So that some of these minerals, actually, what they're trying to say here is actually become part of the body. And when we look at all of these, you see a big laundry list. And you're not going to have to know all of these. Now, in the book, what they do is they do provide a couple of these that we need to pay more attention to. Okay. And so again, there are major and trace minerals, just as there are water soluble and fat soluble vitamins. But again, you're not going to have to know which is which. I guess you could probably imagine that calcium is going to be a major and something like copper is going to be a trace. But bottom line is, you won't have to memorize these for a test. What you should know, and I've got this on the slide, is what are the recommendations for athletes, okay, around these vitamins and minerals. And really, it's to meet the DRIs, or what we used to call the RDAs, for all of these macronutrients. And how do we do that, somebody? Trick question, maybe not so trick question. What do you think? How do you do that? Oops. Can y'all still see my screen? Hold up. I think I just clicked on something and closed the whole thing. Yeah, so you can eat nutrient-dense foods. Can you still see my screen? No, yeah, I don't know what I just did. Hold up. Hold up. Let me see. I think I just closed the slideshow, which, go figure. Let me see. How did I do that? I accidentally closed the slideshow. Let's see if I can open it back up. So what was I just asking? I asked, to meet the RDAs. Yes. Yeah, so what do you need to do? And somebody said eat nutrient-dense foods. Okay, but give me some specifics here. And it actually, give me a little bit more information. Not that eating nutrient-dense foods is the wrong answer, but what else could you say? What's another way to say that? Maybe that's a better, as I'm trying to multitask here and get the slideshow back. What else? What's another way to say that? What's it really depend on? So let's see. Can you see this? No, multivitamin? No, not necessarily a multivitamin. Can y'all see my screen now? It says stop sharing, but am I still sharing this? Whole Foods? Yes. Okay, Gage. Can y'all see my screen? Yes. Okay, you can see it now. All right. I don't know. I think I was going to try to pull a document up and I clicked the wrong button. And anyway, so think about this, and I'll go to the next slide here. You got to meet the RDA or the DRI. How are we going to do that? Remember at the beginning of class, I said athletes need more of two things. What do they need? Maybe that'll help you. What do you think? Athletes need more of two things. What are they? Calories and fluid. Thank you, Karen. So the right answer is the first one, calories. Because if they're eating enough calories, in most cases, now you're right, someone put whole foods, nutrient-dense foods. Yes, you want those. But if they're eating enough calories, hopefully they're going to be getting what they need. They're going to be getting all those micronutrients. Now, I understand. And I've walked through some college cafeterias where I looked at the athlete's plate and all I see is French fries and ketchup. So that could be a problem. But in most cases, if you're eating enough calories, you're going to be getting the nutrients that you need. Not always, because some of these athletes are really exercising. I think of cross-country runners a lot who put in a lot of miles and are training quite a bit. Maybe at some point they aren't getting what they need because they're just probably not eating enough calories. even though they're trying. So in the book and I maybe even mentioned this in the position stand. Anybody looked at the position stand? Probably not. And that's what I was. Did I just close that again? I think I think what I'm trying to do is open something up, and when I do, it shuts down everything. So let me swap this. All right. I'll just wait to the end to pull this up. But the position stand is in your, and this is usually what I would do for this lecture, because it's just a 1-day lecture, is we would go over the slideshow here, and I don't have a ton of slides. And then I would divide the class up into groups, and we would look at some of these individual vitamins and minerals. I'll pull that up here just shortly. But yeah, so here's some. So calcium and vitamin D. These are some we just need to, because people are athletes, especially at the high level athletes, are exercising quite a bit. They're training a lot. So these are the ones that they're putting a lot of stress on their bones. So these are the ones that athletes need to be more aware of: calcium and vitamin D, these B vitamins, because what do we know about B vitamins, somebody? What's the job of B vitamins? Mainly in the chat. What's the goal of these B vitamins? No one knows? Energy, right? That's what you hear about in a lot of these B vitamins, like some of these, even the supplements. They have B vitamins, so they provide you with energy. And if you remember from these metabolic pathways, we have these carriers, NAD, FAD, and vitamins are associated with these. Niacin is associated with NAD, and riboflavin, another B vitamin, is associated with FAD. So, and then there are others along the way too, like coenzyme A, like if you've heard of acetyl-CoA. Coenzyme A is pantothenic acid. And then just in other processes, we have these B vitamins related to providing the body. They don't directly provide energy, but they help release the energy from the carbs, fats, and proteins through these metabolic pathways. So that's why you always see B vitamins. And then vitamin C, again, we know that's related to immune function. Iron, again, you got to carry that oxygen, right? Vitamin E, which is a antioxidant. Zinc, selenium were a couple. Magnesium is another one, related to bone. And then electrolyte balance as well. So these are just a couple that we know that athletes, because they're training a lot, especially at the elite levels, then they need to you need to pay attention to these. But again, if they're getting enough calories, shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be a problem. So who are, and I guess I should have asked you this. You probably saw the slide. What athletes tend to be most at risk? Yeah, runners, okay. Endurance, okay. Endurance athletes. What else? Think about people and groups of people who may not get the calories they need for whatever reason. And runners, because they're exercising quite a bit. But there's another reason, another group. Anybody? So when you think about this, any athlete who, and this is what happens with runners, I always pick on the female runners in particular, but any group that they're trying to maximize their weight, basically they're trying to increase their training and then eat as little as possible, essentially, because they want to get to a certain body weight. They want to lose weight. And we've already talked about that. That's a problem when you try to lose weight and train at a high level. Really hard to do. And that's where you can get into trouble. Or you are an athlete who, and that's sort of like the runner endurance type. I think you put that out there. But what's another group that might be at risk? Any athlete who participates in a weight class sport. Does that make sense? So give me an example of one of those where there's a weight class. Yeah, wrestling. Yep, wrestling would be top of the list. Things like boxing could be, MMA could be. There's just an example when there's a certain weight class, and they're like wrestlers in high school, college, they want to get to and wrestle at their lowest weight. There was an old movie, I mean, I'm dating myself here. You can look it up. It's called Vision Quest. It was an entertaining movie, but it was about this athlete who he was a wrestler, and there was this champion in a lower weight class who was undefeated, and his goal for the wrestling season was to drop a bunch of weight to wrestle this champion, and that's what ended up happening. Again, you see him running in the like the track, the sweatsuits, the black suits with where you sweat. You see him, his nose is running, bloody because he's not getting enough calories. So it's interesting, and the soundtrack's pretty good too. But you've seen it, yeah, guys, you've seen it. So it's interesting to see how much. And this is true because these folks will exercise. You'll see that this kid exercises excessively. He's cutting, not eating much. That's not the major thing, but that's the idea. He's a wrestler, but a lot of these MMA fighters will do the same thing and try to get to the lowest weight possible, and then it's ridiculous how much weight they can gain in like a 24-hour period. These athletes will gain, these MMA fighters will gain 15, 20, 30 pounds in 24 hours. And some of them have even died, and some of them have, the weight cut has been so hard that they haven't been able to fight the next day. Or what happens is, as you might imagine, their performance suffers. I should probably put a lot of this stuff in the slideshow instead of just having this. That would be interesting to see, because there are people, like I said, have died. They because think about this. If you really cut weight so severely and then you're fighting, I mean, like, these people are punching each other and grabbing each other and choking each other. And if you don't bounce back and your performance suffer, you're going to get knocked out, or it's going to be an ugly ending to the fight. So these are the types, or there's another group of athletes that you really need to pay attention to around the, deficiencies in vitamins and minerals, the athletes that are at risk. So here we've got the groups, like they're restricting their intake. You're eliminating one or more food groups, right? If you're cutting back on particular food groups, then yes, there could be some deficiencies. But what's another group, and I hadn't thought about this, well, until now, because I don't know that I have it on a slideshow. What's another group of people that might be at risk? This one's an interesting one that you don't really think about. Anybody? What do you think? Well, think about this. Public profile, okay. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you want to be an Instagram model or whatever, maybe. But again, related to athletes. This is one you don't think about as much. You get the runners, you get and it's not just runners, right? It's cyclists, it's anyone that's in these endurance type sports. And you get the weight class folks who want to get to their lowest weight to wrestle. But then another one is people who get judged on their performance, on the aesthetics of their performance. Can anyone think of a athlete like that? Let's see. What do you got? Okay, bodybuilders. Yes, there you go. Okay, let's go. Gymnast. Yes, that's exactly right. I've got it in here. Gymnasts, skaters. Maybe if you're doing ice skating or any type of, anything where you're being judged on your performance, and they look for these, thinner lines and aesthetic appeal, and so maybe those types of people. And if you know someone who's not eating a healthful diet, and we'll talk about this later too, but it's always good. Like even yourself, you're like, you know what, my diet is crap. I want to just have an insurance policy. Then taking a multivitamin or a multi-mineral supplement is not a bad idea, to be honest. But these are the considerations. And, years ago, I did a survey way back when I was getting my PhD at Ole Miss, and we did a survey of a huge cross country meet, and female cross country meet was at Ole Miss, and we're talking 800 females all the way from junior high all the way up to college. And one of the surveys questions was, has your coach ever told you that losing weight would improve performance? And there was a large percentage, I would say over 50%, which is ridiculous, said yes, losing weight would improve your performance. Now that's just a bad approach especially when you're working with young girls, to tell them losing weight's gonna, there's already enough stress and challenges from everything going on around them. But when the coach tells them that really sets them up for failure. And we get into something called amenorrhea. Anybody ever heard of that before? Amenorrhea. I think we'll talk about it later too, but it's lack of a menstrual cycle. And some of these ladies in the survey they basically were what they had primary amenorrhea. Primary means they're like 17, 18 years old and have not had a menstrual cycle. And that's, some of you might be thinking, oh, that's cool, but actually it's not cool, because it relates to all this, because it's usually what they call the female athlete triad, if you've heard of that, where you have eating disorders, amenorrhea, and then you've got osteoporosis. Because if the hormones aren't doing what they need to do because you're not eating, and then you end up not laying down bone like you should, you end up with these young girls that are, as they get older, their bone mineral density is so poor, they have the bone mineral density of like a 70, 80-year-old woman. So that becomes a problem. And again, like I said from the outset, vitamins and minerals will not improve your performance unless you're deficient in them. And again, we're talking, this is extreme case here. And you may have studied this before in your other classes, the female athlete triad, especially in the exercise area, exercise science, maybe. Oops. All right. What did I just do? All right. So I think that's really, I guess maybe that's it for this chapter. Hold up. Yeah. That's all I wanted to cover. Because normally what we do is, and let's see if I can pull this up real quickly. I'm going to go into Blackboard, and I'm going to pull your that PDF down. I should have it on my computer somewhere, but it's a lot of times it's just easier to go into Blackboard. And let me show you, I'll just share real quickly in Blackboard if you're looking for it. It's in the getting started section. And I tried to put it it may be somewhere else, just like in the classroom piece. I guess that's where this is, but somewhere in one of these other, maybe just in this folder somewhere. But here's the position stand along with the syllabus, and I'm going to download. Oh, it's going to open here. And I've encouraged you throughout the semester to read this. And again, not that it's too late, but this is a more challenging read because this is research and this is a little older. There hasn't been an update in a really long time. But if you look at a lot of the things that we've covered in here, you're going to see the exact same thing being reflected in this position stand. And so if you look at this, so this is energy requirements, balance, energy availability section. They even talk about how to calculate energy expenditure in this section. Body composition, which we're going to get to coming up. I'm just going to scroll through, and as I'm doing this, I'm doing this, but you should be able to see my screen, right? I want to make sure. Just type in the chat. You're able to see my screen. Yep. Okay. I'm just going through this. So this is each individual nutrient, and it basically talks about the guidelines around these. And this is, again, like I said, a harder read, but same idea, like carbohydrate targets, right? 3 to 5 grams per kg a day. This is daily needs, right? It talks about carbohydrate loading. Everything that we've done in here basically could be summed up in this position stand. But somewhere in here down towards the bottom, they talk about micronutrients. Here we go. And this is what I usually do in class. I would just print this sheet off, and then in groups we would go through and we would discuss each one of these. And feel free, this, like I said, it's a little more challenging read, but the 4 or 5 that they talk about here is iron, vitamin D, which are some of the ones we've mentioned already, vitamin D, calcium, and then antioxidants. So I encourage you to read that. I'm not going to go through all of this here because it just doesn't go well, but they talk about, like for iron, for instance, all the different ways that people could be depleted of iron for a number of different reasons, right? And they talk about the different types of anemia. On a test, I won't ask you any of these specifics other than I think it's just good information to know, and it's in this position stand. So that would be something. And again, if you were to flip through this, you would see all the different things. So what do you do to optimize, nutrition pre, during, and post? It's all the things we talked about. So let's do this. I know this is a short session, but again, vitamins and minerals are not going to limit your performance, but I wanted to just hit it. And if you want to also watch the video that I've created in Blackboard, feel free to do that already. Kind of that pre-recorded video, and I will take this and I will upload it as soon as I can. Are there any questions right now around where we are in class, what we've got to do? So looks like there are 2 more assignments. You've got your athlete profile. There's an assignment for meal planning coming up. There's an assignment for body composition coming up. Then you've got your athlete profile. Then you've got your final exam. So that's it. Questions, comments? I appreciate you hanging with me. And again, next week we'll get into meal planning. We good? All right, everybody. Sorry about the going back and forth here with the slideshow. It can be a little bit challenging. If you do have questions about anything, reach out. We can jump on a call, or but if you're working on your athlete profile and you're not sure exactly where you're going with that, and by now you should have a subject, and you could be working on this right now, right? Because like we just showed earlier, we got like 8 class periods left. So let's get her done. All right. You have a great rest of the day, and let me know if you need help. Bye.